All right, I got Gal Aga here. Gal Aga is the co-founder and CEO at Aligned. Aligned is a B2B SaaS company. A deal room maybe is the easiest way to kind of put your category. I'm sure you have a spin on that, Gal. I'll let you speak to that in a moment. You guys are around 40, 50 people, looks like it. And maybe you want to do a little bit of an introduction and maybe give people a couple of the kind of corner stats about your company, your ICP, maybe ACV range, what problem you solve for them, just for the marketers, so we can place it a little bit on and what kind of sales motion you have going on, etc.
Absolutely. And I think that will help connect the dots a little bit because there's like strategic narrative and things like that. That's part of the reason behind all of this. And yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks all for joining. Happy to be here. Great to see faces also. Thanks for sharing the camera. So yeah, basically, I've been in tech sales my entire career. So around 17 years, AE, VP sales, CRO, and I've been through that journey. And my entire LinkedIn journey has been a lot of sharing from that experience. And that kind of led me, was a VP sales, a CRO, built 4 sales organizations, did 1 to 10 million ARR journey twice, and then like the 20 to 100 million. And today, co-founder and CEO of Aligned for the last 2.5 years, which is Series A stage. And Finn shared some stats. So basically, go to market. So we're PLG and direct sales together. There's I kind of sign up volumes that are driving sales motions, driving basically no touch conversions, but also that's driving SDR. That's the pool for the SDR team to go after. And that's how we use that as signals to generate sales opportunities. So it's pretty much half of the revenue comes from no touch and half of the revenue is coming from the sales team. And just for more context about what we do, like a deal room is a good definition. We kind of say basically it's a deal room is more of the sales tech term for salespeople, but it's basically a customer-facing collaboration platform for the entire revenue organization that just moves the chaos of the email back and forth, emails, attachments, call links, everything that's being shared throughout the complex sales process or an onboarding into just a single space that you share with your buyer, a deal room or a client portal. That just helps solve deal complexity and standardize just a better process. And the main reason, kind of the really core problem is that the main reason sellers lose deal, or one of the main reasons, is buyer indecision. Buyers struggling to kind of make a decision on why to buy, how to sell it internally, how to evaluate. And the sales process can include, as I mentioned, like these hundreds of emails back and forth, links and attachments, causing stakeholders to be out of the loop and information to fall through the cracks. And basically, you share a single deal room, which just keeps everything in one place and can help with champion building, multi-threading, project management, insights into the buyer behind the scenes. So, and that's all part of a bigger kind of narrative. That's also, we're going to tie that a little bit into kind of the whole LinkedIn strategy. This is part of a broader trend, or concept that's called buyer enablement that I write about a lot. And we'll talk about that more. I try to not talk a lot about the product, but talk about the strategy and the changes and the things that are driving to why the product matters now. But
and so you guys have a hybrid motion. People can sign up for a free trial on your website, and you also have a sales-led motion. People can book a demo. I'm sure you're also doing some outbound. Can you give us a little bit of a range for ACV here? I think you're mostly selling it to mid-market. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the sales team is selling to the mid-market with some, a little bit of the long tail of the PLG that doesn't convert self-serve. So they're doing, so the entry is 10K, overall average is around 20. We have some 6-figure customers and
And is it depending on whether people come through the PLG motion versus, your sales team outbound, top down versus bottom up, meaning freemium model is usually some individual sellers, some SDRs, BDRs, AEs signing up for Aligned, versus outbound, you go to the VP sales and then they buy for the whole team, or?
Yeah, actually, we almost don't do cold outbound. We almost don't do top down.
Yeah.
ELG's SDR team with
Yeah.
like tons of companies. Like we have, HubSpot 100 free users, Gong 80 free users. Like, you have a lot of these very big companies that are getting of the free to very out about. And then a lot of individual users buy. So they will buy like a pro or basic or entry plan individually, even pay from their own pockets. And then the SDR teams go after the biggest accounts or the ones that show the most signals or the ones that bought or showing signs that they want to buy. So it's very much all driven by the PLG motion.
Interesting.
That's a big reason behind the LinkedIn, because we know that, we drive is like we get to very wide audiences, and freemium, I think, just works very well.
Yeah. So ICPs basically sellers, SDRs, BDRs, AEs.
Yeah, AEs and the sales leadership.
Okay.
We also support the CS, and that's one of the challenges. You have to choose, right? Something's got to give. One of the ways this work is you need to be very.
We'll talk about that. Yeah. Love it. Now, before we dive into your whole process, why you do it, how you do it, can you share a little bit of your stats so people understand why I brought you on and why you're probably a good person to pay attention to and listen to? I know you shared some to me around like your follower growth, engagement, impressions. Maybe you can even share some kind of revenue that you guys associated to this. I know it's not perfect, but give people some stats to get a feeling on how this is working for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I found out that there's an export, and then we can actually, I don't know if anyone knows, there's an export on LinkedIn when you ask me to get numbers. So then you can export to spreadsheet and run some more interesting calculations. Overall, I've been posting for around 12 months or a bit more than that, but mostly I would say in experimentation mode, too much time in experimentation mode, I would say. And the experimentation mode is just like everything that we do. I try to be more in a before committing, kind of figuring out the strategy and testing out the waters. And it took me time to do a lot of this and find my voice, find the writing style, and all of these things. So started taking this seriously in the last 4 months, during which I kind of consistently pretty much done 3 posts per week. My posts are deep, like there's no like 6 lines. They're all, I'm hitting the
No fluff.
Yeah, but I'm hitting the limit a lot. Like I need to cut a lot from these posts. And yeah, I have reached during that time a 2.8 million impressions right now. Added 15,000 new followers. So I think it's around 3,500 maybe per month, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We checked like the average engagement per post is 740. So engagement is the comments and likes together. And some of the top posts got like 200,000 impressions. And I had one post with 5,800 engagements. Yeah, that's just how it.
So just to recap, in 4 months, you got 2.8 million impressions at 700,000 per month on average. I think most people would be happy to get 700,000 impressions over a whole year of posting on LinkedIn. And then on average, over 3,500 new followers in a month. Average post gets 750 engagements. So that's likes plus comments added together. And then some of your best posts did over 300,000 impressions a single post. So I think I just wanted to share this because I think there's a lot of LinkedIn gurus out there who talk about what you should do on LinkedIn. You clearly figured something out because you have the stats and the numbers to prove it, even though you're not a professional LinkedIn guru. So let's start with your why. I know you posted yesterday actually around the top 8 reasons why you're posting, but I think that's generally where it starts. Either as a founder, you're trying to justify spending time on this and dedicating, resources to it, or as a marketer, if you're trying to convince your founder or CEO that this is a good idea, you also need to pitch to them why they should be doing it. So in a nutshell, for a founder, let's say, of an early stage SaaS, what's the biggest reasons why this makes sense to you and why you keep doing it?
I think it's just the first and foremost, I think it's just one of the most powerful ways to generate demand. It's just super impactful. It's hard to measure. I'll talk about that as well, but it's just very, very strong demand generation. And I can talk a bit more about kind of how we're seeing the strategy. And I think that once I started doing this consistently, I saw that the business case for this is basically a lot of other benefits. So if I start breaking it down, basically, for us, we realized that category creation, when you're in a new category mode, then it's tough, like especially in sales tech, almost nothing works in marketing, SEO and BPC and display ads. Like all of these things were just too expensive for us. They don't know about the category. And so you need to just do demand creation. You need to just, evangelize the category. So basically I started getting obsessed as CEO with learning about marketing. I just understood that brand is just so important, and that's how the brand is going to be created.
What
And
drove that? Sorry, I'm going to interject a couple times here. What drove that insight?
looked at other companies, and after we just experimented, after we consulted with a lot of people, and I saw some companies that are killing it in sales tech. Like if you look at all of the best sales tech companies, they're all very, very, very strong on the brand and LinkedIn. Then that just led to the conclusion. I can't just let, marketing kind of figure out a little bit channels. I wanna also be a deep kind of partner in this and really understand this because it's strategic for the company. And understood also that the concept of category design and building strategic narratives is even more than marketing, and it's got to be part of that. So I became basically a student of marketing, category design, strategic narrative. Just
Any people in specific or any resources in specific that you followed or learned from?
Yeah, so there's a company in Israel called Trail they have a lot of good content around this. There's Andy Riskin, I think he's the most known in this area, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Was there anyone in particular on LinkedIn who you saw crushing it and you were like, got FOMO?
I think Chris Walker. Like we were anyway. Okay, this all ties into a broader marketing strategy, and we were anyway very deep on LinkedIn. So this just was an evolution. Everything that I talked about right now was us kind of seeing not only founder-led brand and founder writing LinkedIn, CEO, whatever. We just kind of got to these conclusions as part of seeing the whole influencers, employees, how writing on LinkedIn in general is an amazing demand creation channel and brand building, and how that's kind of how top companies are doing it. So I would say that a lot of sales influencers inspired me, and initially it wasn't CEO. Didn't know many. I think it was pre Adam Adam Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Chris Walker became an inspiration for another thing, which is also tied into all of these strategic decisions, which is he talks about the dark concept of dark socials. Basically, he says the reason that SEO and BPC and all these things don't work for you that much in when you're just kind of try to enter in and create a new category is that it's just not how people are buying today. And it's not Google search anymore. They're finding product on the modern word of mouth, which is LinkedIn and podcasts like that and webinars. They're hearing ideas. There's just so much education that's going elsewhere. They're not going to your blog. They're not going to search on Google for a problem to solve. They're going to a podcast or webinar like this or to LinkedIn. So if that whole world has changed, and this is the new world market, and this is where ideas get shaped and, strategies and people are following and are getting educated, then, it just makes sense to build a strategy around it. So Chris Walker became more than inspiration for writing on LinkedIn and an inspiration strategy, which led to the whole, okay, we built our marketing strategy around dark social. I can talk about that. We do a lot of things there. And then me starting to write LinkedIn was just at some point we said, okay, we saw some examples and we said, it's working a little bit. I had like this one viral post and then a few good ones. We understood what the voice is. And I remember my VP marketing and I said, okay, we're going to add you as a slide to our strategy and you're going to become part of the marketing strategy. You're a channel. You're now a channel, PR, and marketing channel.
So I want to highlight one thing, which now that you have all of these results and you got 2.8 million impressions and all this engagement from relevant people, and you can measure it with self-reported attribution, now it's obvious that it makes sense and that you should keep doing it. But I think, and I see this too, you need to kind of believe it first before seeing the results. Like, I think the idea that you can go to a founder and say, hey, we're just going to do it and then we're going to get deals immediately, and that's how I'm going to prove to you that this works, it probably doesn't work. They need to believe from kind of first principles that this makes sense because you're selling to AEs. AEs are very active on LinkedIn. The way that, if you create content that's hyper relevant for AEs and adds value to them, they're going to read it. Naturally, they're going to find out about your product. They're going to build trust and affinity with you. Therefore, they're going to prefer your product. So it makes sense. So let's start experimenting with it rather than, well, now it's obvious that it makes sense once you have the results. So now, one thing about your journey, you started posting about 12 months ago, but you started more like experimenting, posting different things, posting maybe once a week, I think you mentioned. And then 4 months ago, it sounds like you kind of pod committed. You started posting way more regularly. You spent more time on it. And obviously that's when things really started to take off. Like, what happened 4 months ago that you said, oh, from posting once a week and dabbling with this, like, let's pod commit to this thing?
Yeah, I think it was this moment of a few really good posts that I felt, okay, I got this. Okay, I figured it out, and I felt comfortable. And also the time investment, because at the beginning, wow, it was like the first post, like one of the full day on a weekend, I think, like back and forth, and then I came back to it, and I think my first viral post, the 500 likes or something like that, was, I think, a few days, and I showed it to people and before, because I knew, wow, this is just an amazing concept. It's gonna do well. So you just can't, it's not scalable. Okay. So it just takes time. And I think it just got to a tipping point where, whoa, I found a few things. Like, I felt these are the topics. These are the things I'm gonna write about. It started there, by the way, with the list, and we'll probably go and talk about the entire process. But these are the things that I want to write about. This is how I want to write about it. I feel like using this style and this language and writing about these stories, I can come up with these stories and ideas all the time. And I also have a good framework for how to write, because you can have amazing ideas and a lot of good things, but if you just like, and I have a proof for that. Okay. Sometimes I post something. If within 10, 15 minutes, it doesn't get between 1 to 2 likes per minute, I delete the post, change the hook, try to analyze, change the hook, think about, okay, what the hell did I do there? Because I already invested like 1 or 2 hours, I don't know how much time writing it. So I don't want to waste it on reaching 100 likes or whatever it would end up at. I want to make sure that it works. So, and then I post it again, just with a one word different or something like that, and then it just flies.
So you said after 10 to 15 minutes, it should have 1 to 2 likes per minute. So we're talking anywhere between 20 to 30 likes it should have after that time. And if it's below that, you delete and try again.
The first 30 minutes, you just know. If in the first 30 minutes, the post is not doing 1 like per minute, if it's not at 30, basically in the first 30 minutes, it's just not going to work. It's just lost cause. It's not you, it's the algorithm. So that's why a lot of people use like these engagement groups and try to artificially pump it up. But I don't know. I've never tried to be like, I felt like too many people are giving too many advices, and everyone are trying to kind of hack the algorithm. Don't try to hack the algorithm. Try to understand some basic concepts, but just be really, really good at understanding the frameworks of how to write good hooks and how to write juicy content and what ways and what your audience and how to find your voice. Like, there are a lot of other things to be experts around, I feel, and not like the time per day, the times per week, and like all these things just, and then you become obsessed. You also can't live with it. Like, what scales is what you can practically live with, right? So I don't care about 9 a.m. versus 8 a.m. Like today, I didn't post. Okay, I wanted to post today. I didn't post today because I had a lot of back-to-back meetings. And if I would have posted, I have the post written down, but the post requires like 30 minutes to an hour of commenting, and then I get DMs, and then it creates a lot of, and then I look at my phone. I wanted to be concentrated at this and say, okay, I'll move today's post to tomorrow, right?
Okay. So has it ever happened that you posted after 10, 15 minutes, it didn't do so well, you deleted, you tried again, and then you did 3 iterations of it and it just keeps not doing well? Do you just scrap the whole thing?
I don't think that, I don't remember, maybe once it happened. No, I don't delete it altogether. It might, at this point, like a bad post will do 150 likes or 200 likes, probably something like that. Like a promotional post.
Yeah.
Will probably around 200 because there's like the close audience that just rallies around when you finally do a promotion. You're adding value, then promotion. If it's a blunt promotion, right, that's very direct. Like I can do a lot of small promotions which are just part of a juicy value focused post. Yeah.
We have a couple audience question. I want to just add one caveat. The kind of numbers of how many likes you should have by what minute, I think depends also on your audience size and the TAM, let's say, because you're talking to a very, very engaged audience of AEs on LinkedIn. If you're selling to heads of IT at Fortune 1000 companies, you're probably never going to get that number. So you need to kind of just adjust it for you. But I think if you keep posting and you post a lot, you probably get a sense of kind of what's early good performance that will indicate that it will do well in a day or two versus it's just not resonating. So no point in keeping it up. Now, BK asks, Gal, in your opinion, what is the secret sauce to get viral on LinkedIn? Do you have any insights regarding your basic framework today?
Yeah, I think it's not about how many followers you have.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean your existing followers. I meant how many of these people in total actually exist on LinkedIn.
Right. Yeah. What's the secret sauce to get viral on LinkedIn? Do you have, sorry, maybe I mean...
Oh, sorry. I meant my previous point. Yeah, go ahead. So virality has nothing to do with how many followers you're starting out with.
I'm answering the question.
Yep.
Okay, question. Yeah. So I think first and foremost, like a lot of people think, yeah, I'll build the audience and then I'll go viral. I think that like there's you can see a lot of good examples of just really, really good posts. And when you find, of course, when you have the audience, so the only thing that I know some fundamentals about LinkedIn, when you have an audience, then it just climbs faster. Okay. So by the way, I work with a LinkedIn coach like right now, and that's how I know a lot of these things. His name is Alex Paul, and he all the time, he shows me these comparisons. So when we work with, so there's someone in sales tech, Brian Lamana. He's a really strong AE at Gong. He has around 50,000 or 60,000 followers, I think. Whenever he posts, he gets like within 2 hours to around 300 likes. Okay. And that's because he just had a very, very big, strong, engaged, initial early audience. Okay. When I post and I get to sometime a lot, pretty like every 2 weeks or so, I get to 1,000 likes. It takes 2-3 days to get there. My post that I had one that got to 2,500. It took a week and it still climbs. The reason is that my initial audience is still like around 30,000. It's not 60 like Brian, or there's always, more. So it exposes it initially to that early audience. The early audience gives it as much as it can, but for it to really go viral, it needs to be really, really good. And I think that, sorry for the long answer. So that's one part that I think it's important to just understand. The second part is it's just the hook. Like I think it's 80% the hook. Okay. It just needs to be so interesting. Like you read it, wow. Like people needs to stop the scroll. And I'll say something that I think it took me time to understand. It's not what you know, okay? You don't have to be, I don't have the most impressive sales background. I think I did some things that I'm proud of and I use them in my hooks. But there are people that I know, like many people that can use their experience in their hooks and do like 100 times more, right? But so it's not about what you know, it's about how you say it, what are the frameworks to put it out there. So it's around 80% in the hook. I'll give you, and you know what, I'll give you an example because as Finn was kind of sharing some thoughts for this session, I was thinking, okay, I have a good example for this. So there's a post that I did 3 weeks ago or so, where I wrote about the business case. It was basically a 5-step business case framework. Okay. Now I don't know, I'll just kind of level up the playing field. I don't know how many of you know the concept themselves, but it's not something that all salespeople know and use. And a post that would start with, here's a 5-step business case framework. Like that's the guru style. And I think that the guru style works if you have 100,000 followers. So then just, hey, the guru says, here's my 5-step. Okay, Mr. Guru, let's stop the scroll, right? But I think that the more you can go with, I'm not Mr. Guru, I don't expect anyone to know who I am. And you just something in the book, it's so juicy that I have to stop. I think that's the attitude. It's harder, and I hope I'll always continue that, even when I have 4 times more followers. So instead of writing 5-step business case framework, my hook was, as an executive buyer, I never, with capital letters, review sales decks. Yet 99% of AEs equip champions with 25 slides at the critical decision stage. Instead, it only takes 60 minutes to craft the decision resource that does get read. Here's how I do it. So now I didn't even use the words business case because I knew that it's that sexy. Okay, but how do I perceive it? What is the essence of the business case? What do I want to say that when I'll say it in the hook will kind of cause everyone to stop? Then the essence is that without a business case, decisions fail. Okay, champions fail with what's the alternative? Is like an AE using a big slide deck to send their champion. So let's put the pain, let's put something that will just stop the scroll. So very long answer. So that it's 80% that, and then the rest, I think like it just needs to be very juicy content. Like a lot of people try to do the obvious things. Even if I'll do right now a business case framework post, then I know that I'm going to have every point written down I'll find a really interesting language to phrase it in a way. Like you need people need to read the post and feel, oh yeah, like they need to, Hail Mary or whenever, like preach, right? That kind of thing. When you can get to that emotional response, that's where they share it. When they share it and when they do big comments, LinkedIn's algorithm goes, oh, juicy stuff. Let's bring you more audience. So then you go from your initial audience to a broader audience. And it's just, so sometimes even the last line in the post. So it can be either juicy things in the middle of the post or the ending of the post is just so, like everyone will just repeat it. If you can edit a post with something that everyone will just repeat, yes, this is the way, and they'll repeat what you just said. These are the things that are driving their out.
I'll add a couple things. So one, I put the actual hook that you just discussed here in the chat so people can read it. So the hook obviously on LinkedIn is the very first sentence that people read before they need to click on read more. It's usually 2 or 3 lines, depending on where you read that post. So it's essentially the headline, right? If you think about a New York Times article, it's the headline, not the first sentence of your post. So you need to spend a lot of time, just as journalists spend a lot of time on what headline they put alongside the article that they wrote. You need to spend a lot of time on that first sentence of your LinkedIn post, which is the hook. Definitely have a look at Gal's posts if you haven't seen them, because you'll understand much more clearly what he's talking about here. I would say the 2 biggest ingredients for hook, and Gal, feel free to disagree, is you need 2 things. One, you need a big promise. So you need to promise people in that hook something valuable that they really, really care about. Either a framework or playbook or insight that will help them address a priority or goal or desire that they have, right? And then second, you need to add proof that you could probably deliver on that promise. Because if I just write a hook that says, here's how you can make $1 million in the next 10 days, that's probably a big promise that you care about, but you don't know me, so you're going to be like, this guy is full of shit, so I'm not going to click on it. So I need to also include something that will make you believe that I can actually deliver on that promise. Maybe it's, I sold 3 companies previously, or, my personal net worth is over $100 million. Here's how you can make $1 million in the next 10 days. Whatever it is, right? Add proof that people believe it. And then the last thing that I would say is, I've heard this thing say by Mr. Beast, who is obviously the master of content in the world right now. And he was talking to another content creator, and the content creator said, I don't want to do clickbait. And what Mr. Beast said, you should do clickbait and make it true. So, just using clickbait is when you say, here's how you make $1 million in the next 10 days. And then whatever post I write has nothing to do with how you actually make $1 million in the next 10 days. I just baited you into clicking, and then you're disappointed afterwards. Yeah. But if I make that promise and I can actually deliver on it because I have some insight that will actually allow you to do it, now I did clickbait and I made it true. So what you need to figure out is basically, what's the most clickbaity thing you can say about this insight or playbook or framework or tip or hack that you have that's actually still true, so that people afterwards feel like you actually delivered on your promise that you made and you didn't let them down. So
yeah, I think clickbait, even just one thing on my side from that, I think clickbait sometimes is, even when it's slightly, you feel like you're exaggerating something a bit too much, even if it's true, but you're just playing a game. You're trying to, if it feels okay, like I feel also that just for my brand and authenticity and everything, it doesn't feel right. So that yesterday I posted to promote this, but also start kind of arranging my thoughts. By the way, LinkedIn post is an amazing recycling, right, repurposing mechanism. So all of the podcasts and webinars that I go on, and it's like 1 or 2 per week now, is just, I go and I take one of my posts, I put it in front of me, and I share probably like that. So the post yesterday was, most boards will say it's insane. Posting on LinkedIn takes 20% of my time as CEO, and I can't properly measure ROI. When I wrote it initially, it was really quickly, like the idea kind of came into my mind, and then I started writing. It was, when my board will read this, they'll think I'm insane. And I felt, whoa, that's like a crazy clickbait. And I started getting excited, but then, oh no, like I can't write that. It's not true. They're behind this. It's just like a game. Why play that game? I don't want to do that. So you can probably better, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the most clickbaity thing you could say that's actually true. So in the literal sense, it's not clickbait anymore. Clickbait by definition is if you're making a promise that's actually not true. Okay. Now let's go through some of these questions or more questions. Marshall Hartley said, this is kind of referring back to something we talked a little bit before. How does such a small one-word adjustment with the hook help with the repost? Love to hear more about your thought process on kind of what you choose to change.
I think, we looked at an example from the business case one. So I just kind of will go and analyze it, and I don't have any kind of rule of thumb here. We'll just go and analyze, and just feel when I really, really think about it, and then, oh, I get it. I kind of come up with some assumptions.
Yep. Scott Saldinger asked, are you writing the entire post, or are you using AI for assistance and time saving?
Yeah, I've never had successes with AI too much. Just recently, I had some period where I was using we're using AI. I sometimes will use it for research. Like if there's a big topic that like I want to actually consult around the topics, I will have a conversation with it. And I think it can give some inspiration for hooks. So I'll go and say, here's the post, here's my book, give me 10 alternatives, make it this, make it more that, make it this, or your examples of the best hooks. So sometimes I'll get like 20 or 30, then, and you see something that it wrote, it won't generate something really good that you can copy paste, but I feel it's giving good direction.
Yeah. Someone who's called Thormeier in here, so I don't know the actual name. I'm going to try to enable our CEO to get into this. What are the top 4 or 5 things I can suggest to him to get him started? For context, he's not active on LinkedIn at the moment.
Yeah. It's a tough one because no one convinced me. It came from me, and I think it's much harder. And I mean, as you said earlier, like it needs to come from the CEO. CEO needs to understand it. So I think I would kind of not try to bring it to a decision, but kind of slowly kind of build it out, like be annoying around it. Hey, check out this, check out that. Here's another article about social media. You really should start posting. You really should start posting. So that might be marketing. That's what he did initially. And I was researching this. Okay. And he was all the time, no, you should really do this more. We should really build you and build a brand out of you. Like he used these kind of words that I think you kind of just nurture the idea for a long time. I think that can work well because it needs, look, it's not to make a decision on a budget into a certain area. If the CEO is not going to be committed and fully understand the value around this, it's just not going to work.
Cool. Guys, by the way, when I ask these questions and you have follow-up questions, feel free to unmute yourself and just jump straight in. And even now, if you guys have specific things, feel free to unmute. Oh, he actually said it's Derek Martin who wrote that question. Abai asked, hey, Gal, as we are able to see more audio and visual content getting better attention from viewers on any social media, is this true for LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn are showing signs that they're moving more and more to video. I haven't yet experimented much with LinkedIn, so I'm not an expert there and say much about the differences. But I know like recently people are talking about crazy impressions, but then other people are saying that these impressions are because they're in, like it's not the same impressions. The ratio between impressions to engagement is very, very, very low. So they're trying to push it. And yeah, I want to go there. It's just that it basically means that in addition to writing the post, I need to now also spend time and build a reader, also recording myself, or to build another type of flywheel. Chris Walker, I think, cracked the formula very well. Basically, he created also this flywheel, right? He basically meets weekly, I think, with customers. When he meets with potential customers, right? He does a live session. There is an audience this size, maybe bigger, that asks a lot of questions. He starts the day with a topic that he goes through, and then an answer to the question or the topics that he starts with turns into the post. So then he has both the video and so it starts with the video. And I know what others are doing is they're writing the post and then they have just a very, very tight rhythm of recording the video of them basically doing a longer form of the post.
Yep. Dave Friedman asked, is it ever too early in a company's history for the CEO to post content on LinkedIn?
Not only it's never too early. I would argue if you can start before you have a company, do it. So imagine if I would start right now a new business, I would start with validating the idea using LinkedIn. I would start with then building an audience for the idea, positioning myself around that idea, building a new world, old world before there's a solution to the new world. You know, that's the concept of strategic narrative, new world, paradigm shift, old world. And then I would say, hey, here's the product, excited to launch, and then boom. That's now, we've seen recently a few successful playbooks around this. I think that I forgot his name, Mark, operator.
I don't know right now. I don't know. If someone knows, call it out.
Mark, I forgot his name. So yeah, Mark he was the ex CRO at, he was a VP sales at Outreach. And he's now kind of launching something. It's working very well. I know Adam Robinson basically built his entire audience before he launched RB2B. Yeah.
Cool. Now, can you talk a little bit about your process on creating content? So maybe two main things. Mark Kosoklov, someone
So,
suggested.
yeah.
There we go.
So,
How do you come up with the ideas? When do you come up with the ideas? And then, like, when do you write it? Do you do it in a batch? Do you write it always right before you post? Like, what's your weekly flow, let's say, to keep the machine running?
okay. So first and foremost, before you have a weekly workflow, I would nail down a strategy that's written down. So, okay, so who am I writing? What am I writing about? And how do I write like a topic? Like I have a list of a lot of different directions. And once in a while, I don't remember it, but once in a while, I'll go and have a look. So these are things like stories from being a sales leader with narrative related takeaways, or stories from chat with the ICP as aligned CRO, CEO with also narrative takeaways, stories from the field of how our sales team is using Align. So I have like these 10 different things, and I try to all the time kind of, if I run out of ideas, this is this is part of the framework, right? So once you have that, it's, and also part of the like base ground preparation is you need to have a narrative nailed down. So have like a big document with all the different messages and idea. Like if I need to write a post that ties into the narrative, I have a lot of these ideas written down that I sometimes just copy paste and change a little bit the words around them. But I have a lot of things that I typically say written down in a separate document.
How do you
So
like what's more specifically in that document, and how did you build it?
it's so that's Align basically. So we have an Align messaging document that includes all of our messaging, pain points, audience, challenges, root causes, the why now, things like that.
Yeah.
We also includes a part that's called strategic narrative, and it's like a deep story with a summary, then a deep breakdown of what's the old game, what's the new game or world that we're talking about, what are stats, what are we sharing with the world, and there's like deep methodologies and ideas of what we talk about, what we have to say to the world that's not about us, but basically explains why we exist and what kind of future we're part of and we're helping drive as a company.
Do you have any resource for people who want to write their strategic narrative? Anything that's helpful?
Yeah, so anti-risking.
Okay.
Not, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's that's like the fundamentals before you start. So overall, my process is I have a Google Doc. It now has around 43 hooks. Like most of my posts are just going through the Google Doc and looking at things that I know that I want to write. And it's just a lot of hooks with maybe mini post or partially written down ideas. But I love having the hook first. That's just me personally. I think it, like the hook just tells me, oh, I know what I want to write about. And that's one thing. Secondly is you have to be a reporter. You have to all the time consume content like crazy. Okay. I take screenshots all the time, either posts that I like because of something in the content or because how they're written. Like there was a very, very, very successful post 2 months ago. And I keep forgetting names today. I don't know what's going on. Like someone wrote, I fired my VP sales. Okay. And that was the hook. And then the entire post was that's something that someone told him. Right. It's not, it didn't really fire his VP sales. So that's a little bit of a clickbait, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just loved researching and understanding what made these posts so great. So I'll just constantly take screenshots. I tag these screenshots and I organize them somewhere. So they're all categorized. And then another thing,
Where do you save them, and what are the different rough categories?
yeah, just around buyer enablement or around just
Okay.
general thought leadership examples. So yeah, product launches. So if I want to launch a product right now, I have a lot of different examples of things that work for others. And then it just brings me inspiration. I'll never copy something. Just I don't use it a lot, but if I get stuck, I just can go and start browsing through things and I just get ideas in seconds.
Yep.
It's that a big part of the process. training your mind all the time to just think like a reporter is basically someone from the team says something. We close the deal. We're allowed to close the deal, and something is special about that deal. An article came out. A customer, I know that I'm going to be at a customer call. I'm already thinking about questions that, of course, will help the business, but I'm already thinking content, okay? Achievements, mistakes, like all the time, you're just tuning yourself, you're training yourself to think and find ideas. And then when I get an idea, I just go and write a hook, okay? 5 minutes, 7 minutes, sometimes is the longest. I would go and try to figure something out and then just leave it for later. And then the last piece is just I sit every Sunday for a few hours. I will write the reports that we're going to have for the week. And another thing, if I have a big kind of moment of inspiration, I'll sometimes just go and write something. And when that happens, I write the post in like fifth of the time. Okay, yesterday's post, for example, took me like 15, 20 minutes. It's just so clear and fresh, like all of these benefits and everything. And then the editing takes a bit more time, but just writing the raw draft takes like 50 minutes.
And do you first write the whole thing and then you need to cut it down to 3,000 characters?
Yeah, like I was sometimes missed by 200, 300. I typically, I think like the levels I have pretty good eye for it right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'll go and check it as I'm writing on LinkedIn, then it tells you.
Yeah. I think we had Timo Barons ask, how do you link your post to your company/product?
Yeah, good one. So I think that this one took me time to kind of really understand and get used to. You don't have to sell your product in order to sell your product when you're doing it. Okay? When you are, and if you're like all these things, it's just so hard to track. Like yesterday's post, no UTM, right? We got a few leads from it already. So a few people that are SDRs. How do we know? Our SDRs just reach out to people that signed up and they told them, hey, funny, I'm seeing what Gal wrote about happening in real life right now that he's writing. And then it drove me to be interested. And I didn't write almost anything about online, right? So it took me time to understand this because it's so hard to prove. And the moment I understood it is only when our sales team just started telling me, hey, Gal, like you're all over the place. People don't stop talking about who, where, what. I'm not seeing it in the CRM. And they just, and I just started listening to some of the calls that they told me at the beginning. And I told them to start monitoring it. And it was just around like 50% of the people come from these posts, like pretty much from the sales team, from people that the sales team was speaking with. So then to go back to the question, I don't do a lot of promotional ones where there's an AVK. If there's a promotional, I'll try to do it an AVK, call it a tracking link, basically a UTM behind a link. Hey, go check it out. And the reason for this is that it's not how people buy, right? They listen to your solo that writes about sales. You're in their audience. They feel like they're deeply connected. They deeply love the ideas that you write about. They trust you, and okay, I have to check out what they're doing, what they're doing, right? Or if I'll do like 10 non-promotional and then one big promotional, then that will be the touch point that they need. Okay, so just bring people into your flywheel. Just put that as a goal. But then another tip is I can now at this point do maybe one promotion per week or maybe one every 4 posts or so, because like I've spent some time like building the audience and even the promotional ones go well. And when I do the promotional, I try to add value in the promotional. And another recommendation is just try to bring in subtle ways. Okay, like if I'll give examples from sales, I'll give examples from our sales team, and the pitch will be a little bit part of it. Well, I'll talk about the problem that our sales team is solving, right? So there are a lot of subtle ways that you can bring the product without really being emotional.
Yeah, love it. I think 2 caveats here. One, you obviously need to have a product that's good, that solves a real problem. You need to have content that's actually good and interesting so people will read it and engage with it and consume it so you actually get reach. And then third, I think the topics that you need to talk about need to actually be relevant for your ICP. right? A lot of people do kind of personal branding stuff and they talk about their life and their journey and their work-life balance and how they think about this and how they think about that. What are the chances that one of those people who are interested in work-life balance is an AE who can actually buy a product? Probably low, or at least it's going to be maybe 1% of your audience makeup. So the conversion rate will be pretty bad. Now, can we squeeze in one more question, Gal?
Okay.
Cool. So Marta asked, in your opinion, from a company perspective, would it make sense to have a group of people publishing on LinkedIn rather than just a single person? And if so, what kind of roles would you see doing it with a similar compound impact to see a compound impact to the CEO posting?
Everyone, make everyone agents of chaos. Yeah, as many as you can. So we have, I won't hire someone because of that. I'll try to kind of put it aside as much as possible as part of the criteria. I don't know yet how to crack the let's make everyone the influencers, thought leaders, however creators, however you call it. But yeah, the more the better. We have 3 people that are writing. Yeah.
I'll just add one addition here. Like, for it to be successful, the people actually need to have expertise in thought leadership. So if you're head of HR post, they'll probably need to be talking about HR because that's what they know. They can't talk about sales. And so then you just need to think about, well, that content will probably attract other HR people. And how much will this actually help your company if your ICP is an AE? It will probably help to some extent to just see their face and all that, but it's going to be different to your VP of sales or your AE's posting in your specific case. Cool. All right, Gal, we're at time here. I have 70 more questions, but I really enjoyed this. I wanted to prioritize audience question. I hope you guys enjoyed this too. Gal, thank you so much for your time. If you guys joined late, this will go out on our YouTube podcast next week. You can find those links on the website. And then enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Gal, enjoy the remaining 2 calls that you have. All right, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
For the questions.